Hockey has been a pinnacle of Minnesota for over a decade. Since the 1800s, hockey has been deeply rooted into the state's history. Legendary names like Parise, Ramsey, Brooks, Bellows all got their start here. As an example, this is a list of the infamous Miracle on Ice team. You know, the team that went on to go beat Russia in the Olympic finals, the one that literally has a movie made about it. That one. Notice that 13 out of the 20 men on the roster are actually from Minnesota. Most recently, the high school tournaments had more attendances than all but two NHL teams. That shows that hockey is immensely popular when it comes to Minnesota sports. However, for this, there is a chapter that is considered one of the more darker periods in the state's history. That would be the infamous story of Norm Green and the final days of the Minnesota North Stars. Mention this name to any hockey enthusiast from the state, and there will be some colorful words to describe him. However, the word that I think best describe him is very simple in my eyes: the man who sold out the state of hockey. The starting point of this saga begins with the team's formation on March 11th, 1965. The league's president, Clarence Campbell, would announce that they would be expanding from its original 6 teams to 12 new ones to expand into the American market. One place that had drawn a lot of popularity and interest from the league was the state of Minnesota. The original owners of the team would be George and Gordon Gunn, two businessmen who had ownership in several sports teams at this point. However, their reign as owners would be rather short, as entering the 1981 season, they would choose to sell the team. Attendance was starting to dip at the Met Center, and they were already trying to fix several other struggling teams, like the now defunct Oakland Seals. The new man to be put in charge of the North Stars would be Norman Green. The former minority owner of the Calgary Flames was given an offer by the league. In exchange for his stock in the Flames, he would get full control of the North Stars franchise. Entering Norm's first season with the club, he already would see immediate success with the team. Entering the 1980 and 81 season, the team would make a Cinderella run to the Stanley Cup Finals. Names like Bobby Smith, Al McAdams, and Steve Payne became infamous for the team. Even though they would inevitably go on to lose to the New York Islanders, they were clearly someone favorited for the cup. However, this is when things start to turn bleak for the franchise. The next few years would be playoff futility, wins or losses in either the semifinals or quarterfinals. However, even for the lack of success, they were still popular among the Minnesota faithful. Fans would have the opportunity to fill the Met Center to watch legendary players like hometown hero Neil Brotein and Brian Bellows, fan favorites like Dino Ciccarelli and Tim Young. Even better, they held the first overall pick in the 1988 draft and selected a centerman named Mike Modano. It was a team that Minnesota was starting to become proud of. However, Norm Green was not satisfied and was starting to grow disgruntled with the state and the fans of the team. Attendance was gradually starting to dip, and he was trying desperately to get a new stadium for the club after feeling that the old one was getting too obsolete for them. This is actually something that I think many people would agree with. The site of the Met Center was in Bloomington, a western suburb of the Twin Cities metro. A 13-minute drive down the I-35 and longer for others in St. Paul and other places. However, in discussion with local politicians, numerous occasions it would fall through, and in 1991, word was starting to speculate that Norm was considering moving the team from the state, meaning the only way that they would be safe is going all the way. That year, they would have tried number 2 at the Stanley Cup. However, like last season, they would unfortunately fall short. Following that season, red flags would immediately start to come up regarding Norm Green. Green would choose to rebrand the team from the North Stars to the Stars, taking away the North part of them if it wasn't obvious. The next year, rumors turned into reality as he tried to pull a fast one by moving the team to Anaheim. However, thanks to Walt Disney, they would be denied by the league as the Mighty Ducks would come to roost. It would also not help as during this time, attendance would dip drastically and the team would be back to mediocrity during this season. However, on March 10th, 1993, the last straw was pulled and thus things started to begin crumbling down. At the 11th hour, Norm would solidify himself as a villain by moving the team to Dallas. Yes, you heard that correct. Dallas, Texas. A state that barely knew anything about the sport, let alone could have any interest in it. There were several reasons why this move came to reality, which was in large part due to the attendance due to the mediocrity, which could have been avoided if he chose to invest more into the team, and the inability to get a new stadium. However, this is a part in which many people do not realize. At the time, it was learned that Norm Green was being sued for sexual harassment in the state of Minnesota. It turns out that in an article with Sports Illustrated, his wife threatened to leave him if he didn't move the team. Even in that said article, he said he showed no remorse for his actions. He literally just chose to take away the one sport that the state cared about more than any other sport and just chose to do things his way and sell out the state of hockey for endless money by Texas. So in one fell swoop, Norm Green sold out one of hockey's most popular hotbeds for Texas. But he proved to officially earn the nickname Norm Greed by fans from the state in the process. Fans were rightfully enraged by the move, and Norm himself, but they couldn't fight it. The league wasn't going to change their mind because they gave Norm full control of the team. With all that he did to them over the years, they did not want the team anymore at that point. He had stabbed them in the back and refused to do anything to make them successful, so it's at the point where they just gave up and did not care. All they could do was watch as on December 13th, 1993, the Met Center would be demolished, trying desperately to bury all the years that Norm shattered into pieces. As of today, it is currently the home of IKEA. Now you're wondering why I put all this into one man. That's simple. While there are several instances of bad ownership in hockey, Norm's is one that is never talked about. One of the reasons could be the scandals that Dollar Bill Wirtz and Harold Ballard were involved in, but I think it's due to another reason, the fallout of what actually happened to the Stars. In 1999, the fans of Minnesota would watch as the Stars would go on to win the Stanley Cup. While they were happy for some of their former players getting to win it, it was the pain of seeing the team Norm Green stole from them succeed. He got a ring, but it's made of blood and betrayal. However, that's not to say that both sides get a happy ending in this story. The NHL was not happy with how Norm screwed over one of their hotbeds in North America. The league had struggled to find quality places with die-hard hockey followings outside of Canada, and Minnesota was by far one of the top ones they had. On top of that, players, executives, and even former fans wanted this to come back. Even former Mayor Norm Coleman was campaigning for another chance. So, on June 25th, 1997, Minnetonka native and successful businessman Bob Neglia Jr. would be the lead investor for a Minnesota expansion team that inevitably the team would get approved. The local city would even give them a new site in downtown St. Paul that would succeed. They wanted this to succeed immensely. Thus, on January 22, 1998, a new chapter of the state of hockey would be written as the Minnesota Wild would be born. On October 11th, the Wild would open their inaugural season. However, before the puck dropped, they had one special message for a so-called dead man. The final nail in Norm Green's coffin. As fans watched Minnesota native Darby Hendricks score the first goal in Wild history, the states and fans could rejoice once again. Hockey had returned to the state after being stripped away by a traitor. How has the team fared since then? That's a story for a different time.